no matter what. But yeah, maybe not feeling good.
We're going to go ahead and start things off with the AFC East, which, it used to be the least for a while. Last year was thought to be a beast. This year, it's famine or feast, I guess. I don't know. It's a very weird division, but starting from the bottom to the top, I'll go quickly through it. Bottom, there is absolutely zero surprise. I have the New England Patriots at 4-13. I think Drake May is very talented. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback. It is not this year, though, likely. I like Jacoby Brissett, one of my favorite players in the NFL, but there's a ceiling there, and it's not very high. And that team is miserable. And they are completely reloading and retooling. If they end up being the worst to first team this year, I will be humbly surprised. Every year there's one. This is one I just have trouble seeing the path, I guess. It's a rebuilding year, so 4-13, a rough season for the Patriots. We'll move on from there. I'm not here to bully them. Number 3, we have the Miami Dolphins. And I have the Miami Dolphins at 9-8. So they're going to be right in the thick of it, right down to the playoff hunt. I hate some of their losses. Christian Wilkins, I think, hurts. Offensive lines get breaking down a little bit too. Obviously, Tua, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, outstanding, dynamic. 70% of their cap space, it feels like, between those few. And bombs away when it's going good, it's going to go great. Devon Achane in open space as good as anyone. Raheem Mostert, so on and so forth. Best track team in the NFL. I do worry a little bit about no more Xavier Howard opposite Jalen Ramsey. Love Javon Holland, but I wonder, can Chop Robinson fill some of the role Christian Wilkins had? And we kind of saw last year, every time they played a above 500 team or anything below 60 degrees, they kind of struggled a bit. And I think everywhere else got a little bit better. So I think they'll be fine. They're 9-8. They're in the thick of it. You'll find out when we start talking playoffs if I have them getting it or not, but they're clearly right in the midst of it. So no hate on the Dolphins. I just think there's only so many spots. You can't win every single game. And I think, I don't know if he's on the PUP list. I don't know if he's even practiced with them yet. I don't know what's going on there. So we'll wait and see how that plays out. There's just a lot of things that I have questions about moving forward. Number 2, I have the Buffalo Bills. The 4-year defending champions, the kings of the AFC East, the handful of years. I'm going to have the Buffalo Bills next. I have them going 11-6, 3-3 in the division. So they're going to be very good. I think the loss of Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs is obviously going to hurt a little bit, but I think it's been a little bit over dramatized just a touch. I think Gabe Davis's job was block and run straight really far and sometimes randomly get like 3 catches for $160 and 2 touchdowns. I think they will fill that role just fine with Keon Coleman, Matt Collins, whoever those guys are going to be. They'll be fine. Khalil Shakir I'm telling you, it's just Khalil Shakir season. Down the stretch last year, he was receiver 1 for the team when Stephon Diggs wasn't getting the ball. I think his ability to catch a 3-yard ball and turn it into a 12-yard gain, very elusive. He's like a punt returner, basically, with receiver skill sets. Very refined skill set with the ability to be elusive in space. I think this is we like Dalton Kincaid stand account for both of us. Very good tight end. Both loved him coming out of Utah. Dawson Knox is your tight end too. Arguably the best tight end duo. Offensive line could be better, could be worse. Defense, I think it got a little bit better despite not a lot of the losses they have. I wish Matt Milano could stay healthy though. I think they're going to be fine. 11-6, still the Buffalo Bills, and you still have Josh Allen, the best touchdown scoring machine in the NFL, as far considering his passing and running. So Bills at number 2 at 11-6, and at the top of the division, that leaves the team that has not won it. Believe it or not, the Colts have won this division, but more recently than the Jets have, and so that is the New York Jets at the top, also at 11-6. Weirdly enough, I've been going 3-3 in the division as well. So this tiebreaker is literally like conference. It's the very weird. How did we get here tiebreaker, basically. It's not head-to-heads because they split. It's not division record because they have the same record. It ends up being like conference record or something along those lines. But Garrett Wilson's awesome. Breece Hall is awesome. Michael Williams, when he's healthy, is awesome for those 8 or so games. Their offensive line's a little bit better with some of the additions they've made. Defensive, we already know. Secondary's good. Linebackers are good. Front line's good. They won 7 games the last couple years with Zach Wilson, a quarterback, and Matt White. So if Aaron Rodgers is 75% of what we think he could be, 80%, just pretty good nonetheless, with the occasional wow, he's still got it play here or there, I think they're going to be just fine. And even if he's not, or if he gets hurt again, God forbid, being 40 years old, Tyrod Taylor is a significant upgrade, assuming he doesn't get stabbed in the chest again. So I'm going to say, whichever quarterback it ends up being, I think they're in a good spot to just win a few more games as the Bills come back down just a touch. The Dolphins come back down a touch. The Jets go up a touch. So I don't know if they'll light the world on fire. I think it's going to be eye test, it's almost going to feel disappointing for those who think the Jets are going to go 13-4 and they're the team to beat. But they're going to find ways to win games. Some of them be ugly. Aaron Rodgers throw for like 180 yards and a touchdown in some games. Other games he'll throw for 3 touchdowns and like 280, and Brees Hall give you 120. Like they're built to find very unique ways to win. And I think just Aaron Rodgers, the old veteran that he is at the quarterback, I think that's going to count for a couple wins by itself. Even if he doesn't. Remember Peyton Manning with Denver that Super Bowl year where he was clearly debilitated? That arm was gone. There's a reason they unbenched him for the last couple weeks going to the playoffs, considering and he couldn't throw the ball over 25 yards basically without his arm exploding. Sometimes just having the sparks and the wherewithal at that point ends up paying dividends when the rest of the team's well-rounded. So I think he'll pay that for the Jets, and even if it's not, Tyrod Taylor could fill a lot of that role too. So we have the Jets going 11-6, getting the tiebreaker over the Bills, and for the first time since before we were born, I think literally, actually, the Jets will win the AFC East.
That's a bold move, Cotton. Bold move. I honestly
Not according to Vegas.
don't hate the option. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't hate it. I may or may not have put $5 on this exact bet to happen. But did I pick them in mind? We'll have to wait and see in just a minute. But I don't hate your list by any means. I understand where you're coming from with this list. Honestly, I have very similar thoughts on it, and I'll get to mine in a minute. But I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with a couple of these. I think the Dolphins, you lose Xavier Howard, that's a loss. There's no way around that. That is a loss. You lose Christian Watkins, and that's a huge loss. I mean, talk about a defensive tackle that's underrated in today's day and age. Absolutely, you need him on the team. Like it sucks that they lost him. We all watched the Giants Hard Knocks, so it sucks. They tried to go get him, and just to prove my point that they were trying to go get him. And if the Giants know to go get somebody, that's when you know that there is potentially a really good player on the market that even the blind can see.
That's when they have Dexter Lawrence already in the middle. Christian Wilkins is so good. Like, we don't care. We'll find a way to make it work.
Yeah, yes, it's my dig at the Giants early on in this episode. Go figure that we're talking East, and I'm already digging on the Giants. But yeah, I can't help it. But no, I do think that's important for the Dolphins to be mentioned. And with the Jets, I do think there's a wild card there that is Aaron Rodgers. You just don't know what's going to happen after that Achilles injury. You don't know what's going to happen after I missed a practice thing. Yeah, there's a lot of questions for the Jets. I just don't know what the right answer is going to be. 11-6 seems completely possible with that defense, and 11-6 seems completely unattainable at times with that defense. You just don't know. You do know one thing: that Sauce is going to sauce, and Quinnen Williams is going to do what Quinnen Williams does. Other than that, the rest of that defense, can they step up and play to Robert Saleh's level? That's the question I need answering. But I don't think 11-6 is out of the question by any means.
Absolutely. And I do think Brees Hall is going to be involved a lot in that passing game for that to happen too. Yeah. I think he's got to be a big factor in the offense. I think Garrett Wilson's going to Garrett Wilson. His targets will probably be the same, just more of them are going to be catchable. More of them are going to be like getting him actually open, like on some of those routes. He always has high targets. The problem is they're 5 yards out of bounds or they're in triple coverage. So that's why his catch to target ratio is always a little bit off, because he's the only one you can force feed. Now, when they force feed, it would be, I think, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. Even if he's going to force feed him, he puts the ball in a way where he can make a play and not die. And if it's one-on-one, he's going to give him a great chance. So I look for Garrett Wilson to have, I don't want to say the breakout that everyone expected last year that propelled him into like a top 8 fantasy pick, but I think we finally get to see more of what we saw coming out of Ohio State. Like, oh, Garrett Wilson, yeah, there's a reason he was the second receiver off the board. I think we're going to see a lot more of that this year, and it's going to show a lot in the standings. But just to quickly wrap up my AFC East predictions for those of you just tuning in from the bottom to the top: New England Patriots, a rough season at 4-13. Miami Dolphins 9-8. The Buffalo Bills at 11-6, and the Jets with the tiebreaker at 11-6, taking the AFC East. So, Kelcey, that's what I'm looking at for the AFC East. There's some beasts, and for the Patriots, it is unfortunately a least. Unless they prove me wrong, it's almost tempted to put $5 on it because it seems so implausible that it just will happen. But Kelcey, the floor is yours for the AFC East. Who is on the floor of the AFC East?
Yeah, I'll say no surprise to absolutely anybody out there if you pay attention to anything sports. I have Patriots 4-13, ironically. And no, this is not just copying and pasting his homework. I did, again, just pick these blindly, and this is what happens. And mind you, this is with Bailey Zappi on the roster that I still pick this to happen. And now Bailey Zappi is not on the roster. And say what you will, but he has the same interception to completion ratio over the last 2 years as Dak Prescott. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. I'll let everybody else weigh in on that. But yeah, no, I don't trust the Patriots offense to do well. I don't trust their coordinators to do well. That's just really where I'm at. You lost an all-time world class head coach. You lost an all-world quarterback, and you still haven't recovered, and you won't recover. Really, that the way that works is it doesn't work like Joe Montana, Steve Young. There's no transition from Bill Walsh to Steve Mariucci. That doesn't happen. Those things aren't regular. They are very few and far between. And so this is going to be a 5 to 7 year process for the Patriots, and right now we're in the middle of it. So yeah, this is where I'm at with them, 4-13. Hopefully they win more for the Patriots fans. I don't hope you win more, but maybe you will for your own sakes. You've won enough, so maybe just take it easy and give some to the rest of us. But yeah, so 4-13 for the Patriots.
Yeah,
and
no
then
comment.
moving on up the
there. So no.
Yeah, up the division, we're gonna go to the Jets, 9-8. Like I said, I don't hate the idea of the Jets going 11-6, but I'm not in love with the idea. 9-8 feels like a very comfortable spot where I'm putting them, where I feel like no matter what defense shows up here, mind you, every time I've talked about the Jets here, it is not about the offense, and the reason why is I am not worried about the offense. It's purely about the defense, and it's purely about the players around Quinnen and Sauce to step up and actually perform. That's what it always comes down to with me for these type of defenses. Your coach is obviously defensive head coach. He knows how to coach defenses. And when you guys are at your best, you are one of the best defenses in the league. And you're the reason Zach Wilson has any wins. But now you have A-Rod, and now you have a running back who's actually healthy in Breece Hall. So I think there's an opportunity there for the Jets if they can perform. But 9-8 is where I have them while there are still growing pains within that defense. So moving up the list one more time, and maybe surprising nobody here, I have the Dolphins, 9-8. Again, this is one where DJ hit the nail on the head. Under 60 degrees, this team sucks. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This team is awful under 60 degrees. It's Tua's bad. It's Tyreek is bad. It's their running backs are never healthy. Their left tackle decides to get hurt under 60 degrees. Their defensive line can't perform under 60 degrees. Granted, last year, there is obviously a major injury that happened there with Phillips, and now he's back healthy, but how well is he going to perform? That's a question as well that you need to have answered. But there's holes in that defense. You got to fill them. Are you going to fill them with the young players? Are they going to step up? We'll have to wait and see. But you do have a lot of talent on this roster to be a mid-level team. With 9-8 where they are, both them and the Jets, there's conversations for where they can be in the playoffs, obviously, but we'll get to those a little bit later on. And finally, top of the division, the not cellar dwellers for the first time. And no, I'm just kidding. This team's been up here a lot, obviously, and that's the Buffalo Bills. 10-7. I don't have a lot of faith in this defense, but I have a lot of faith in their offense. And that's a whole lot of faith in their offense. I think there's pieces of their defense that are really good. I just think they're getting older in certain places, and they didn't really do a whole lot to try to help their secondary. That, like, you can't get rid of 2 all-pro safeties in the last 4 years and expect to still succeed. I'm sorry, you're replacing him with a guy who literally died on the field and Taylor Rapp. I don't think that's an efficient enough replacement. And obviously, I'm no fault to DeMar Hamlin. He's a fantastic story, but on the field in the last year, not the greatest performances on the field. So whether he's actually replacing him or they're going to fill in that gap with somebody else, that's a whole nother conversation. But it doesn't make me happy if I'm trying to pick for the Bills to succeed. But that offense, there's nothing wrong with that offense by any means. Josh Allen just needs to calm down on the picks, which I think he'll do. Not having Stephon Diggs really, I think, helps him. He's one of those guys that doesn't need the all-world receivers because he feels like I have an all-world receiver. I need to throw the ball to him. And I think this is going to help him kind of spread the ball out more and be a little more efficient. And you mentioned Dalton Kincaid. Yes. Just feed the guy. See what happens. So I do like him. I do think that this is the Cook that I'm excited to see in the backfield this year. In James Cook, I think he's going to have a much better performance this season. But yeah, it is one I still have to to wait and see with the Bills just because I don't have a lot of faith in that defense. So I'm not expecting 12 to 14 wins for this team. So yeah, that's what I got, DJ.
I will say, if they want to fix safety, there is a very good safety on the free agent market by the name of Micah Hyde they could bring in there. He might be able to fill in just fine if they need it. But
He seems to have a home there, maybe even as well.
I'm just saying if that's something they need. But we're kind of in agreement there with the Bills. Dolphins, it feels like between those three teams, they're all very interchangeable. It feels like an injury here, an injury there, or just like how the schedule falls can make a big difference between these three who ends up being at the top and the bottom. It feels like they're all very close. And then unfortunately, the Patriots I don't think they're anyone's pick for it to escape the cellar. It feels like this is repercussions for the last 20 years. Like they must stay down there a little bit longer.
Yeah. This is where you have to pay. This is your penance, for sure. And for what it's worth mentioning, I have both the Jets and Dolphins going 3-3 in division. It's just split by head-to-heads there. And then for the Bills, 1 game more win, but they go 5-1 in the division, which is where the difference maker is there. I think they do have this division's number right now. But it happens in spurts, right? This entire division is one of those ones where it can be dominant for 3 to 4 years and then they fall off a cliff. So any team at any point in time, except for the Patriots for 20 years with Tom Brady. But other than that, every other team seemed to be pretty dominant. So yeah, that's what I have. Just to recap that real quick, and that is going to be at the bottom, working our way up. The Patriots 4-13, Jets 9-8. The Dolphins, also 9-8, and them darn pesky Buffalo Bills at 10-7, winning the AFC East.
As something's changed, they always stay the same. And for second to the last time we have the anonymous fan vote, and taking a look at that one. Patriots in the cellar at 2-15, the Bills at 9-8, the Dolphins at 10-7, and the Jets at 12-5. So, as I said, some things stay the same, some things get worse, some things are very.
Can we pull that back up one more time? I need to see this again. Just it doesn't get any better the second time around. Man, that's rough. 2-15. Like there's bad. I don't think they're that bad, but yeah, I think the Patriots 2-13. That's rough.
It feels like a score if they win 4 at this point. Like there's definitely an uphill road, but if they get 2-15, like that's gonna be an interesting first overall pick next year, assuming they have the first overall pick, or if somebody else gets worse. But we'll have to wait and see for that one. But
you got to draft receivers to win. That's all I got to say. You get a quarterback that's great, but you got to draft receivers. You got to draft younger offensive linemen.
They got Jalen Polk, but that's just about it at this point. They need some offensive linemen, some more receivers, some more defense. You just traded away some red sleeves, so you got some work to do there. Do like Christian Gonzalez coming back, though. I will say I am a fan of him coming back healthy.
Yes.
That's about it, though. That's the good saving point. But